Hello and welcome back to another video about installing Windows 10 as a virtual machine, or VM for short, on top of Oracle VirtualBox. So in the previous video I talked about how to install Oracle VirtualBox, and I talked a little bit about virtualization and its benefits. In this video I'm going to share with you how to install Windows 10 as a virtual machine, so we can test and we can learn to do things inside Windows 10 as a virtual machine. There is two ways that you can install Windows 10 as a VM on top of Oracle VirtualBox or any other platform, as I mentioned earlier, such as VMware Workstation or Hyper-V or other platforms. The first option is to use existing ISO image of Windows 10 that you acquire already, such as downloading from MSDN, downloading from the Microsoft partner networks as a Microsoft partner, like Action Pack ISO file that you can obtain as a partner, or that you purchase Windows 10 and you use this installation media or the ISO file already that you got. If you don't have the Windows 10 installation, you can acquire evaluation of the Windows 10, and I want to show you where can you get that. So in your browser, just go to your favorite search engine and type Microsoft Evaluation Center, and from the Evaluation Center you can get evaluation copy of Windows 10 Enterprise and Windows Server 2019 and SQL Server and System Center and Microsoft Endpoint Manager and even Office and variety of products that Microsoft supply us to test and get familiar with. So if we choose Windows 10 Enterprise, we can see that we got an option to download the Windows 10 Enterprise in two options: the Enterprise Edition that I recommend, and the LTSC, which stands for Long-Term Servicing Channel. So we choose the ISO file for the Enterprise, click on Continue, fill all the information and download the ISO file. Also, due to the fact that I'm going to share with you in another video how to install Windows Server, you can download the Windows Server evaluation ISO file as well. Please keep in mind that you can download it as a VHD, virtual hard drive, that already installed the server for you, and there's Azure Virtual Machine for Trial Edition. So again, choose ISO file and click on Continue, fill your personal details, and you can download the Windows Server as well. So after downloading the ISO, we'll go to Start, choose the Oracle VM VirtualBox. And the first task that we are going to do is to click on New in order to create a new virtual machine. We'll type the name of the virtual machine, let's say Windows 10 x64, and you can see that automatically the version changed to Windows 10 64. If you will create another edition, you can choose it like 32 bits. If your processor doesn't support 64-bit, and I guess that most of the processors today does support that, but if you got a very old computer, you can choose 32-bit, and you can set the memory size of the virtual machine. I'll give it 4 gigs of RAM, and I'll create a new virtual hard drive. If I want to continue, I'll click on Create, and here it's going to create my VDI, this is my virtual box disk image file, but I prefer to use VMDK. I'll explain the differences in a minute. Of course that you can allocate the size, so I will put here 100 gigs, and there is several options to choose. VDI is the most common format for VirtualBox. VHD and VHDX are the most popular format for Hyper-V, and VMDK is the most popular format for VMware Workstation, ESXi, and another technologies, and I choose VMDK because I used to. You can choose between two options of dynamically allocated and fixed size. I want to spare a minute and to talk about the differences between dynamically allocated to fixed size. So in test environment like my personal computer and yours, you can choose dynamically allocated in order to save space. But in production environment, always use fixed size to allocate all the storage required in 1 minute when you are creating the virtual machine. The reason for that is mostly performance. In dynamically allocated, we are creating a flat file of 1 or 2 megabytes that grow and grow and grow, depends on the data that we are putting in the file. This is very good if I want to save space, but in production environment I will always choose a fixed size that will allocate all the storage in the creation of the virtual machine in order to get better experience. In next videos that not related to this series, but it's very important to mention that for system administrators that working right now in companies and can get access to the production virtualization environment, always choose fixed size. In other well-known platforms such as VMware or vSphere, fixed size named FIC edition and dynamically allocated named FIN provision. So FIC provision is the fixed size, and FIN provision it's the dynamically allocated. At Microsoft Hyper-V, the dynamically allocated and the fixed are the same. Please keep in mind that some virtualization platforms doesn't allow to create fixed size because the underlying storage technology such as NFS, network file system, doesn't support that, so you always create dynamically allocated even in a production environment. Okay, so in this training I choose dynamically allocated, but again please keep in mind that in production never use that unless your underlying storage subsystem doesn't support fixed size due to performance issues that may affect the application inside the virtual machine. After that I click on create and my virtual machine is ready. What I need to do is just to click on start to boot up the virtual machine. So I'll click on start, and after clicking on start I need to attach the ISO file that I mentioned earlier. So I click on start and I need to select startup disk. So I choose this button and click on add, and under my ISO images folder I already downloaded the Windows 10 Professional with the latest build of 2004, and I click on open and then choose. I'll click on start and the virtual machine is boots up. And right now the installation media is attached to the virtual machine, and I can start with the installation of the Windows 10 on my virtual machine. In the language I choose English, also in the time and currency format, and the keyboard or input method is United States as well. I'll click on next and I'll choose install now. Let me just close these tips. Due to the fact this is a ISO file that I already downloaded, I got a variety of options. I choose Windows 10 Enterprise. Please remember that if you download from the Microsoft Evaluation Center the Enterprise Edition as well, it should be only this option. You cannot see all the rest of the options. Important thing to mention, the N, the capital N, stands for a European edition without browser and media player, and I choose in that case Windows 10 Enterprise and clicking on next. I read and accept the license terms by checking the box I accept the license terms. Clicking on next. Because this is a fresh virtual machine and I cannot upgrade from existing one, I choose custom, install Windows only. And here I see the virtual hard drive that I created already. Because this is a virtual machine, I just click on next and create automatically only C drive and hidden partition that we'll talk about them later on in advanced video. But if I want to partition my virtual machine and set a few partition, let's say C for the operating system and D or E for data and other things, I can click on new, and here I can allocate the size for the operating system. So for this demo I will give let's say 80 gigs. Okay, this is will create the hidden partitions for the boot. So I create about 78 gigs for my operating system, and about 22 gigs are unallocated right now, and I'll create additional partition by clicking on new and on apply. And right now I got a drive 0 partition 1, which is system reserved, and that partition designed for the boot process. And here on the partition number 2 I will install the operating system. Of course, if you don't like this allocation, you can choose the partitions and delete and play with that. So until you got your required partitioning. So I just choose that and click on next. The reason, just for your information, and I recommend that in production life as well, that I partition both C and D, I mean two partitions, that I intend to install only the mandatory and required things like Windows, Windows updates, Office, antivirus, and all the required system applications on this partition, and my personal data will always be on another partition, or if I had a different disk. So in case of issue with the operating system, like a Windows update that make my computer not to boot up properly anymore, or let's say fatal error on the operating system or other application that makes Windows not to boot anymore, I don't need to be afraid to format and to reinstall Windows because I need to spend time by copying my personal documents and data to external drive, let's say. So I always keep my personal data on another partition, and I will show you that also. So I just redirect all the default paths to point to this partition, and I don't need to worry about copying or something like that during fatal error. Of course that I need to backup this partition as well. So if my hard drive will fail, I get external backup for that. But in that case, I choose this partition and click on next, and the operating system installation start. I will pause this video and I'll get back when it shows some progress, so you don't need to sit and watch the entire video of the percents that coming up. So it's about time that the getting files ready for the installation it's completing the copy. And after that it will go to the next phase of installing features, updates, and the virtual machine, or in your case, if you are intend to install that on a physical machine, going to do a restart for the computer soon. Okay, that's it. Windows need to restart, and after this restart, the Windows installation should be completed. If you saw earlier, there is the press any key. Just don't touch anything. This is because the ISO file is attached to the virtual machine. Once we'll complete the installation, we'll remove the connection for the ISO file. But if we need to install features such as the .NET Framework 3.5, we'll do it before the detach, or we'll reattach it later on, depend on the needs of our virtual machine. So right now the Windows operating system is booting up from the hard drive. It just finished to copy all the necessary files from the installation file that I will show you later, named install.wim, W-I-M, Windows Imaging format. This is the name of the file, and right now the operating system is booting from the local hard drive. Okay, virtual machines rebooted again and again. This is the press any key. Don't touch any key, because if you touch any key, the installation media will boot up from another WIM file, WIM file named boot.wim, and again I will show you everything after that. We'll finish the installation of this virtual machine. Okay, so let's start with the region. I choose, in my case, I choose my region. This is Israel. Okay. And the keyboard layout is United States. If I want to add a second keyboard, in my case I can add Hebrew, France, Arabic or another one, so I can click on add layout. In that case I don't need, so I'll click on skip. So now the operating system tries to reach the internet, the network, which is capable of because we already created the NAT network attached translation, network address translation, I'm sorry, in the previous video. So the network address translation connection is connected by default, and now we need to create a new user and to set all this privacy and data collection. If I want to sign in with Microsoft account, I just type it in. Due to the fact that these videos are intended for system administrators and for PC technicians, in organization, this is my purpose. I just choose domain join instead. We don't need to join this computer to the domain right now. It will be in a work group, but I just need to type the details right now. So the username will be my name, Netanel, and I need to create a super password. I type it and I need to confirm it, and I need to create security question for this account. So let's say my nickname is Nati, and I just type the answers for the questions, and after that the user is created, and I just need to, as I mentioned earlier, to choose all the privacy settings. So I'm a Microsoft MVP Reconnect. I trust Microsoft. I believe in sharing data, so diagnostic data is on, but if you want to turn something off, you just click on no, and Microsoft won't be able to get this data, and you from the other side don't get the experience of the feature that you disabled, and we'll click on accept. At the end I just turn off one feature just to show you how to turn it off, and I can do more cross devices with activity history, but this feature not relevant for me right now. And the operating system is ready. Microsoft is just provision my profile in the background using a service named user profile service. So after that I will be able to access my desktop. So I'll pause the video again and come back when this task is completed. So that's it. After I just provision the user, I'm able to view my desktop and to access the files inside the virtual machine. You want to connect to the network. So that's it. The virtual machine is up and running. I right now can format this disk. Let's call it data. And something that I very like to do on desktops is just to create another folder named my personal files, let's say, and to redirect everything for this particular folder. So let's say docs, and I just copy it and going to documents, right click properties, and under location I can change it to this location and click apply. And after that, all the data that will be here automatically is redirected for D drive to the documents. Here it is. So you can use backup program to backup D drive, and if there is a fatal error on the system drive, let's label it system, I don't need to be afraid of formatting this partition and just protecting D and redirects everything to this. So this is how Windows looks like after the installation is complete. I just want to share with you some information about the installation process. So this is the installation media. I just click on open and I want to show you the files. So let's choose large icons and under view file name extensions as well, because I want to show you that extension. So when we attached, just for your information, and it's maybe interesting for some of you like me that love to going deep dive. So under the boot folder there is the boot files and the memtest that checking the memory and another files, and under sources folder there is two special files, one named boot.wim. Boot.wim is the virtual environment that booting up the media, the installation media. It named Windows pre-installation environment, and this is a skinny type of Windows that designed for diagnostics in deployment, like the installation task that we did in this video, and troubleshooting. And the boot.wim controls the boot of the installation, and after it boots it starts to deploy, to copy files from a utility from a file named install.wim. It's using a utility like DISM to extract the files from this WIM file of the install.wim. The installation media is very important for another features like the .NET framework that I mentioned earlier. So if you need to install the .NET framework, you need to attach the installation media and to navigate to the sources and SXS folder in order to get the cab files, the installation files of this component. So This is the video that explains how to install Windows 10 and small tweaks like the redirection of folders like documents. You can do that for another folders like downloads. Okay, see your location as well. And I try to share with you a little bit of information about the installation process as well, the important files in this task of the installation. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.